Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning. Welcome wherever you are in the world. We are super, super excited for this next panel. We've got Mr. Christopher Lafayette, which is, of course, the CEO and founder of GatherVerse. So happy to have him join us. We've got to my right, Mr. Vix Vibes, founder of Digitally Hustlin. We've got none other than the Vincent Hunt, CEO, of course, doing amazing things. He's also chief head of the Bureau of Creative Intelligence. And of course, my girl, Bianca Jackson. I call her the queen of the metaverse, and she's making some things shake as well, too. So we are going to have an incredible conversation today, and we're going to jump right in. Chris, it's such a pleasure to have you join us. Anything you want to say before we get in?
First, thank you for your leadership, Tina, for really helping spearhead this panel. I'm happy to be here with all of you, Bianca, Vix, and Vincent. Let's chop wood.
Yeah, let's do it. Well, we can't get into this first without having some introductions, and I give you their names, but I cannot do justice what they can do. So really quickly, I just want you all to just share quick about yourself, but really your passion behind the metaverse. So that way we can have an understanding, and as we get in, maybe even to some questions, can know where you stand in the ecosystem of all the things. So let's start with you, Vic, then we'll go to Vincent, and Bianca will wrap it up there.
Absolutely. Can you guys hear me? I just want to do an audio check. Are we good? Awesome. Well, look, I just want to say thank you as well, Chris and Tina, for putting this together. My name is Vic. I'm from Atlanta, and I'll really just get right into kind of the passion portion of this. I'm somebody who, grew up playing sports my entire life. I'm very community driven. My family is what we like to call very tribal. We like logos. We like to really rep our set, so to speak. And I've always been a technology person as well. I mean, literally, it's crazy. When I was in college, I'm talking 2012, before Google Glass even put their first prototype out. As soon as the research was getting done, I wrote a paper about that way back then in college. So to kind of full circle see this thing kind of come into fruition is a really cool thing to me. And then the other part of it is the accessibility that it provides to so many people, the options that it provides. My high school almost lost accreditation when I was coming up through school. And nobody from my whole district almost had a chance to go to college. And that was going to be something that was very detrimental. So to just see opportunities like this be able to take place where you can make such an impact from anywhere in the world, it really drives me to be a part of it. So that's why I'm here.
Blessings, Vic. Thank you. Vincent, let's make it over to you.
Cool. My name is Vincent Hunt. I'm 001 at the Bureau of Creative Intelligence. I am the founder and the CEO, but we go by agent numbers, which is kind of cool. I'm an OG in the game, I believe. I actually started one of the very first web design and development studios in Indianapolis, Indiana, where I'm originally from, back in 1997. Grew that company, was doing super, super well, sold my position in that company, and went on to do consulting in the space of creativity and technology across a myriad of different industries. My introduction to the metaverse actually happened in 2005 on a platform called Second Life. I went into Second Life and I realized, I was like, wait a minute, there's avatars and people from all over the world in here doing transactions in business. What would it look like if we merged what we were doing with the physical world with this metaverse? And so we stood up at that time Satori Spire Studios, which went on to do work with Paramount Studios in the Transformer movie. We worked with Mercedes-Benz to build out Mercedes-Benz Island. And we also worked with PBS to recreate what it was like to be a coal miner. And that was so remarkable. So we've done a lot of work back in 2005. Fast forward, as the conversation started to heat back up, right, around the metaverse and what we could do, my passion leans more towards education and upskilling in the metaverse. How do we decentralize those activities, bring more students in world, and give more opportunities, and at the exact same time, close what we call the meta divide. Historically, people of color have fallen behind in what we call the digital divide, but I believe with the emergence of blockchain, metaverse, and all the newer technologies, it will not be the same. This divide is fundamentally bigger than the previous, that we had to deal with. And so I'm super, super passionate about closing that gap.
Awesome. Thank you, Vincent. Bianca.
Yes, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me. So, hey, everybody, my name is Bianca Jackson, and I am tapped into a whole bunch of communities. So I'll just start right here, right? So I'm probably the only Black woman on the planet that has a Pulitzer Prize in virtual reality, right? And so I like saying that because
Bianca, I need you to say that again for the people in the back.
Okay,
Remind them real quick.
Remind them, okay. I am the only Black woman on the planet walking that I know of that has a Pulitzer Prize in virtual reality. And so my foray into this space started when I was a project manager at USA Today. I was managing the emerging tech team. We were doing something crazy. How can we use emerging technology in media? And the funny thing is, as I was preparing for my role to manage this team that I had never even thought about managing, I started doing research, and what I found was alarming, right? So when you think about Black and brown people, how we were portrayed in that content back in 2016. And I'm gonna just put it out there, like mostly Black women and brown women were portrayed in VR pornography. And so for me, it was troubling because I'm like, all right, so this is where they see our place in the future. We got to do something about this.
Mhm.
And so while we were there, or while I was there, I should say, we built 3 different products. We learned along the way what makes for a really great world. And by the third product, we built something that basically told the story of migrants. So basically, people walking, literally walking for days, months at a time through like Central America, Mexico, trying to get over to United States. So like really trying to cross that border and really taking the story way beyond, jumping over a fence, but endangered species, eminent domain, drugs, rape, unfortunately. And so how could you then use or uplift our stories with this technology? And so along the way, I've been speaking on different panels, like trying to spread the gospel, right? Like, I'm gonna need you to understand, like, this is bigger than money. This is like being able to control our narrative. This is about being communal and like really leveraging our collective power to make a massive shift. And so I'm tapped into Black and Meta. I'm tapped into the creative Bureau of Intelligence. And so I'm out here in these streets because, like Vince said, if we don't get this right, the gap is going to get this much bigger. And so I'm just happy for this platform and be able to talk about what we came here to talk about today. That everybody who's watching this, stop saying you're going to wait a couple of years to get in. Like, today is the day that you open up Google, you open up Chat GBT, and you get busy, as we like to call it. Get busy figuring out where your space is. And so, Tina, I'm really excited for this conversation.
Blessings, blessings. Look, I think we are all off to a great start, aligned with our energy and our synergy today. And no better way to just jump in, right? And so that's what we're doing in the metaverse. That's what we're doing in the space. So let's jump into the conversation. And for those who are joining us, the talk is leveraging the metaverse for Black social and cultural advancement, right? Leveraging the metaverse for Black social and cultural advancement, and also even economic advancement, right? And so I want to kick off the first question, and we'll just start with, first, what do we have to know? What is the first paradigm shift do people of color have to know in order to really, and specifically even Black people, really make this a thing? Because what we find, and I know we all probably see this in our experiences, is that there is, Bianca, that pushback that you just mentioned, right? Or there is that delay. Talk to us about some of the paradigm shifts that you all are seeing that have to happen, maybe that happened for you or that you see happening, to set the baseline before we can get into technicalities and things that have happened. So Vince, I see you shaking your head. Let's start with you. What comes to mind, and then you all can jump in as well.
I think what comes to mind for me, this one's going to be a little gritty, but I got to say it. There was a comment that was made many moons ago that says, if you don't want people of color to know something, put it in a book, right? Then we started reading books. Then they said, if you don't want them to know it, put it on the internet. All they doing is buying stuff. We started reading the web deeper. Here's the tragedy with this one. This one, because it's born of, if you think about true technologists, people who write the code, right? A lot of them got their start in gaming, right? They got their start in gaming, so gaming is natural to them. Most high-level technologists game, right? So now here comes a new platform that looks like a game. If you don't want them to know it, make it look like a game. This is not a game. And as soon as we get beyond the avatars and we get beyond the cartoonish look of things and start to understand true economies are being built, we're going to be on the sidelines talking about, oh, that's a game. It's a game. There's no games happening here. We're educating, we're building, we're growing communities, and we've got to get that baseline. Like, stop saying it's a game. Whenever I talk to a person of color or anybody, and I say the metaverse, oh, my little cousin, my nephew, they'll go straight to kids because in their mind, they're thinking it's a game.
Mm-hmm.
I think the things that we definitely have to talk about is getting us over this hurdle and realizing that, especially as it pertains to the metaverse, that it's not a game. This is very real. The question is, what narrative will we create?
So good. So good. Anyone else want to add to that?
Yeah, so I actually want to pull in a thread that me and Vince were actually talking about this week, was the idea that most people are kind of sitting on the back on the sidelines because they think AI is just going to take all the jobs, right? And so Vince and I were having this really deep conversation about, no, AI is not going to take all the jobs. It's the people who know how to program the AI that's going to take the jobs. And so, like, you can't just sit by and just expect the thing to happen and then try to find your way in after it already happened. Like, no, you got to be on the ground helping to build and form and shape this thing. Like, imagine, even me being back at USA Today, if we didn't have a visionary there to say, you know what, let's hire a bunch of game designers or game developers to build something that we've never seen before, what other company would have came up with the idea and potentially made a Pulitzer Prize winning virtual world, right? And so I think that, again, we need to stop putting these barriers up of why we can't do something and just go do it. Even if in the tech world, we normally refer to something called like an MVP, right? Minimum viable product. What's the smallest thing that you can put out there to start getting feedback? And I think all of us need to start just putting stuff out into the world to start getting that unbiased feedback on what we're doing so that we know how to keep on building. I don't want people to say, I don't want to do it or I can't do it because I don't have all the stuff. Put out something. Just something.
That part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vic, anything you want to add?
Honestly, man, they hit it on the head. Honestly, she mentioned the word barriers, and I think that's one of the things when in this space, because it's so wide open, it's brand new. She also mentioned the word form and shape. Like, that's literally what comes to my mind. This is a space where the consumers don't even know what they want. So now we have like almost this ultimate power to be able to put a product out there and then attract a tribe that's going to want to, like that specific thing. Because right now, like he mentioned, like Vince mentioned, all people have seen is the bad articles or the naysayers make the most noise about how an avatar may look, but the actual money that's moving behind these products, how many companies are continuously buying augmented reality furniture and clothing. I'm talking about $1 million plays that are happening on a week in, week out basis. That's the part that the noise is being made like this. And that's where I feel like, we're kind of those evangelists that have to kind of pump up that noise a little bit and kind of paint the picture a little bit more. But I think that's a part of it that really needs to, just kind of the perspective shift there.
Solid. I think what's interesting is that as people like us continue to do what we do, and Chris continues to put together, right, amazing experiences like this is the beginning, right, of being able to change that narrative, which is why representation is so important. I see some people even talking in the chat and saying, man, this panel is fire, and thank you for the representation. So we're doing the building blocks, but I believe having these bite-sized pieces of even takeaways and understandings and being able to make it portable, right, so that we can pass on, historically, let's just go back, way back, like Black people, that's what we had. Those were our devices, was being able to tell stories and tell experiences and then be able to share them from tribe to tribe, right? And they would just catch on. So I love what we're doing because this is just the epicenter of how we've always culturally shared knowledge, right? So I want to transition for a second. And Chris, I would love to start with you with this question, right? And as we talk about going in and changing and building a new vision and world through the metaverse and advancing the Black culture through social pieces, economic pieces, what I think is good to remember is Black is brilliant. Black is magic, right? Black is beautiful. And once we understand things, then we can put our sauce on it and do it. But the challenge sometimes is understanding. Once we do that, though, we can have a vision. Talk to us, Chris, first about what do you see with the vision, right? What do you see that is possible and available for the Black community as it relates to the metaverse and advancing themselves? What comes to mind for you?
Sure. So first of all, I would say that, and it's a good question, that I would submit to you that into this panel that the entirety of the Black community ecologically is just as capable to build anything that we want. And I feel like I'm more capable in building anything that I want than anyone on the planet. And I think the very crucial step that we need to take when it comes to the next step is a sense of autonomy, ownership, and entrepreneurship. It's bifurcated at the intersection of going career path and I'm not asking for a seat at your table. I'm building my own. The construct is real. The days of us saying, please let me have a seat, let me beg for an interview to come work for your company, where you can't even retain your own talent that doesn't look like me. I have no trust in any other person in business except for my maker and the one that imbued me with the inherent creativity and the possibility and the capability to go out and build myself. That's the first. That's number one, is autonomy. The idea that someone else that does not look like me, that does not come from where I come from, will define the metaverse and emerging technologies is not happening from my lens. I am just as capable of any man or woman that walks the face of this earth to be able to define how I interpret what technology means to me, because technology comes from culture. And so when we look at it ecologically, when you involve me into your ecosystem, I'm not your affirmative action. I level up your entire ecosystem. So the lens of appreciation coming from a monocultural perspective and a monocultural developed land that we come from and that we see here in North America, I see it far prudent to build from a polycultural development perspective and lens, where we have more cultural contribution. To quote Simon Sinek, people don't buy products and services, they buy culture, and culture isn't a product, it's people. So when we think about human centricity and ingesting me into the narrative, you cannot have success the way that you want to have success without me. And that's what that looks like. And when I say me, I'm talking about we and the people of color. And so we represent GatherVerse. We come here to gather together, but let's not get it twisted. I see the implicit and explicit biases, people that are in this community of GatherVerse, that are outside this community of GatherVerse, that are in my network, and the ones that smile and look at me and say that they're with me. They're not. They're inherently against me. But the ones that really are with me, manifest it. Words are often when, show me what you believe, and then we'll take it from there. So I think the first step is autonomy, agency, and owning the metaverse, because it has no monopolization by anyone. I hope that makes sense.
Oh, tons. I don't know if you see the chat, but the flames are coming in because we can feel your passion for it. And I love what you said. And if you could quote it again, Chris, I think you said, I am not your affirmative action, right? You said, I am here to level up. I think you said your ecosystem. Tell us that quote again so we can even write that down.
The idea is that when we start to look at ecologically, and it stemmed from the 90s and before then, that we need to have affirmative action to be able to hire people that look like us. And so you bring me into an opportunity and you step to me and say, here, I'm here to help you. I'm not asking for your help. What I'm really asking for at the minimum is your allyship, meaning that we're allies on a ship, and that we're sharing in this container, or we're building with great fidelity with one another. That's what I'm looking for when I expect to be able to have a relationship of a bond to be able to build together. So when I come into your ecosystem, I am not your affirmative action. I level up the entire ecosystem. Look, the idea is that we need to build more platforms and be able to hire the people and to be able to build with the people that we want to buy our products. Look, I understand that people will say, well, Apple's a $2 to $3 trillion company. They've done pretty well without having all these initiatives for diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging. But what I believe is that Apple and many of these other big companies would be $10 trillion companies had they embraced more culture into their product development cycle for a repeatable model for scale. So I believe that Apple, Microsoft, Facebook/Meta, Nvidia, and other platforms are operating at a deficiency because they still lack the fortitude and the ineptitude to this day to see the inherent value to be able to build with people like us. So I would submit to them that instead of thinking about how to hire us, why don't you expend some of your deal flow and capital investments and be able to funnel that to create entrepreneurs to be able to join and lock in hands with you. It only values up your ecosystem.
Powerful. Powerful. Go ahead, Vince. Were you going to add something? Look like you were ready to say something.
No, my brain is blown. I just want Chris to keep on. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, Chris, don't stop, man. It's like when he takes his glasses off, he goes on. Don't put it back. I love it.
Bianca, what are you seeing with the vision of where this could go, where we could go, right? As a people, as a culture, right? The possibilities are endless, but what are you excited about and what do you see?
I am excited about coalition building between us. And like Chris is right, we're not your affirmative action. When we step in a room, we up level everything. And so when we are true and understand that we are the value in these spaces, and we start like literally intentionally working together to build even bigger ecosystems of us, like it gets to a point where they can no longer deny our swag. Like we add sauce to everything. And I just think it's really interesting, even in the Apple example, when you think about it, yeah, they may not have had a bunch of people on their board or in their staff that look like us, but our content is what helped blow up iPod. People are listening to hip hop. So I'm just like, y'all can say whatever you want, but without us, you would not be you. So I just want us to find ways to build even bigger coalitions, to be able to build bigger initiatives. I was telling Vince this week about this insane idea that I had for an organization that he works with. And I'm like, it could be even bigger. So like, how can we, I just want to have conversations. How can we get bigger? That's the only conversation I want to have this year.
That's it. Go ahead, Vic.
I want to add something to this. And this is something that, if I'm being very transparent, this is something in these last like 2 to 3 years in my, entrepreneurial journey that I really started to focus and lock in on. And that's really getting representation and really like paying attention to these contracts. Okay. We've talked about ownership. We talked about, really having that stake in the metaverse. Honestly, that's going to be a big part, just because a lot of us going in.
I think he got stuck.
Yeah.
Oh, he'll jump back.
Yeah.
But let's do this while he comes back. I want to shift even for us to have. Oh, there he goes. Okay. There you go, Vic. We lost you for a second.
Okay, yeah. So it's the contract, the representation. Just because when it comes down to the metaverse, a lot of us may be heavy on the creative side. So then thinking about the business portion, the business is so layered that sometimes even knowing what your value is in this market space may just be a little bit above where you are, and you're building your baby out. But you don't want to build that baby and then you go to the negotiation table and you're negotiating from just your own self. I highly advise people to look into, no matter how big or small these deals are, go ahead and start putting yourself in front of contracts. See if you can share with friends, just so that you can start seeing some of the clauses that are even a part of this. One of the clauses, this is literally, and I'm so grateful for it, the biggest project that I was a part of this past year, I negotiated the contract for over 250 days. Me and T talked about it, right? And it came down to a leverage position where it's my intellectual property, and this company is going to go on to make multi-millions of dollars on this information, and I'm going to be sitting on the side. So I had to make sure that there was going to be the appropriate, clauses within there, and representation was able to kind of pull things out that I never would have even thought of. So as we build, don't just build just wide open and just, start tagging these companies and things like that for quote unquote free swag packs and free gifts. Like really sink your teeth in on the structural side, so that when you go and do your business, it's really going to pay off for you in the long run.
So good.
Well, you know what? Let me say this. I think it sounds like that's an opportunity, right? Like that's an opportunity to start figuring out how to build that infrastructure within us, so that at least there's somewhere to go when you're like, all right, I created this technology. I don't even know what the next step is, like from a legal standpoint or even a business standpoint, or how to even put my pricing together. So
right.
I don't know. Opportunity, it sounds like to me.
It sounds like ground floor is, and we talk about this often, even though the metaverse concept is not new, as it's re-emerged, there's so much more opportunities that have happened since, the 2009 start of, whether it be Second Life or any of the other original, if you will, metaverse spaces. So much has changed, and that creates the opportunity, right? I want to shift for a second and even talk more practicality about the metaverse. So we have the physical construct of what we do and what we live in, right, currently. But then there's the metaverse and all of the new elements, features, right? Pieces of the ecosystem that give an entirely different experience than we have in the physical world. I want, since we have some new people, I'm sure, learning and wrapping their head around all of this, to talk about what does the actual components or characteristics of the metaverse bring to the culture or make available to the culture that we may not have in the physical world, and why we should leverage and lean into that. Chris, we want to start with you.
Sure, I'm happy to answer it. I just have to put in this note, and I will address what you just asked, Tina, is that I sit here and marvel at the comments that were just expressed by Bianca and Vincent and Vic, and it's just like, I see the Black ingenuity, the creative talent, the masterful positioning. I've been seeing Bianca chop wood for years now, and I see so many people that will go before her in recognition of even the accomplishments that she has. Vincent just said Second Life. Why can't we get people to be able to represent Second Life, look like us, to be able to express that we are also just as familiar with the technology and help develop it? You know, I think about the Sunset of Alt Space, and they look at two people that are two white males that help build it, but there's a brother by the name of Somatic Bruce that helped engineer that whole entire platform that you don't even know exists because you don't want to acknowledge him and look at the people that helped build it. So let's get this out in the plain view that leading up to here, to building the metaverse, because it's not new, that there were people a time ago that also looked like me and also looked like you that helped get us to where we're at today. So we say thank you and great appreciation and extend that to them, these hidden figures, if you will. Now, addressing expressly to what you just asked, Tina, the metaverse is a virtual ecosystem of interaction and communication. And when we think about the ingress and the egress in the hyper-realistic, immersive simulated environments, and we feel like where we're going at today, I do not see the full development and the arrival of the metaverse today because we don't even have a necessary enough broadband access and Wi-Fi in the world to be able to connect the greater good of humanity and culture to be able to contribute to the development of the metaverse itself. So when we think about what are the next steps towards building the metaverse, to me is connecting the world to be able to contribute towards building the metaverse in the first place. And so I think it's far prudent because we have all these virtual worlds that are arising, and many of them, not just alt space, are getting ready to sunset. You can take that to the bank. They're going to sunset because the consumers are letting you know, if you listen to your audience, they'll tell you how they want to be sold. They don't want that. They don't want a 5 to 10 pound headset on their head all day. They don't want to go into these immersive simulated environments because, one, a lot of them don't feel safe within these environments. My data, my safety, my privacy, it lacks safeguard. Now you want to sell me a blue check mark. I thought the deal was you get a little bit of my data, I get to use your platform for free. Now all of a sudden you're selling me on a blue check mark, and so you want my data, you want my likeness, you want my image, and you want my money. Something's got to give. Instead of reversing the tables and creating a true creator economy where you can have a little bit of my data, you're obviously getting some of my likeness and image, if you will, but can you give me an opportunity to be able to monetize within your platform itself? And this is why I still am such a huge advocate on the conceptual development of Web3 and decentralized standards and the advent rise of DeFi, DAOs, dApps, decentralization itself, and NFTs, because it gives more autonomy and democratized access to people that can be able to build on their own. And so the metaverse, the ChatGPT, AI, they're tools that I don't know what you will do with it, but I will continue to build autonomy and to be able to build inclusive, true culturally inclusive community. No matter the color, no matter the gender, we all can get it in. But let's be on the same page on the mission on what we're doing. There's so much more that can be said about that. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it makes total sense. And one of the things I want to highlight in regards to our conversation today and leveraging the metaverse for Black social advancement and even cultural advancement is I keep hearing this word come back up as you're talking, Chris, and that's autonomy, right? Autonomy, that ownership piece, right? That this decentralized sector of just the characteristic of the metaverse is decentralized, right? And so I want to continue for those who are listening and saying, man, I'm getting my head around this, right? I'm understanding is that is one of the major characteristics that come with the metaverse is the way that is designed. So Vincent, I'm gonna throw it to you. What other characteristics or pieces of the metaverse come to mind for you that you're excited about or want to shed some light on as it relates to advancing the Black culture and Black community and communities of color?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna start off and I love what you're saying, Chris, as it pertains to like we have to have a greater sense of autonomy and ownership. I think that's deeply, deeply important, right? But I also want to take a step backwards because if we're not careful, this can happen, right? Culturally, as a people, historically, we have not worked well together. Let's just put it out there on the table. It's usually divide and conquer. There's a lot of like flag planting, like let me be first. I don't want them to know, and we keep ourselves out. We're like our own worst enemy. Let's just be real. We're our own worst enemy. And until we can defeat that systemic problem, right? I should be able to come to any of my peers that look like me and have confidence that when I say we're gonna build together, we're gonna build together. Mm-hmm. Do I have that now? Not fully. Let's just be honest. Mm-hmm. And when you get into these fertile grounds, when you get into grounds where there's a new frontier and there's a whole lot of new stuff to go get, that's when it gets the most dangerous because like, I got to go get mine first. When you starve a culture for so long, they get hungry. So because we're so hungry, we can actually become our own worst enemy and bite off our own tails.
I have to, and Vincent, I absolutely agree. If you'll permit me to piggyback on that, the crabs in a barrel analogy is real. The competition against us is real. And we come from such a cultural environment where hip hop, is such a competitive nature thematically. But I'm going to say this: we do have to break old cycles of going against each other, aiming at each other instead of persecuting each other. Build and break bread with one another. Instead of shooting one another, killing one another, being jealous of one another, because somebody may have a better presence on LinkedIn or get a better opportunity than others. Get that out the way because none of that means that we're at the hill of beans if we all can ascend and be able to grow to where we can potentially. The hurdle on my back, I'll hurdle on yours. I'm 100% with you, Vincent. Thank you for reminding us of that.
You gave me goosebumps because at the end of the day, like I truly believe at the ripe age of 50, right? Like I want to see that cohesion. And now we have this playing field, and this playing field has been given to us. And the question then becomes, how do we build better ecosystems of professionals that are able, working with Bianca just in 1 week, up-leveled me, like tons. And I'm like, how can I go get you some bags, sis? Like, how can I go get you the bag? Because at the end of the day, when we build each other and we grow our ecosystems and we're working together, not only do we increase our own knowledge and our capability to go do extraordinary things, but we also, again, create this longevity and this autonomy, this ownership that we are looking for. Every other race has managed to kind of do it over the time period. They've been able to get busy. I think it's our time to get busy. Like for real. And like, we have to be honest about it. So any self-checking that you got to do within yourself about will you eat or will you not eat? And how can I help my brother? And how can I not? We gotta get on that. We got to get on that because right now we have a very, very unique opportunity to go do extraordinary things. We do. And I would love to build an ecosystem where that can actually go down in a more holistic, fruitful way for everyone.
Yeah. It's necessary. It's absolutely necessary for us to be successful together. Vic, Bianca, anything you all want to add?
Oh, absolutely. Let me just tell you something. So this is the ecosystem, the virtual world that I created for myself. It exists in love, peace, and harmony. That's it. So like if we're working together, hopefully you felt that from me over the years we've known each other, the days we've known each other, the seconds we've known each other. And I think that if we operate from this place of somebody is knocking on my door, hold on real quick.
Vic, as she's doing that, you want to jump in? Anything to add?
They honestly, they're speaking it right now, man. And it's really just the concept of creativity over competition. And I can honestly say that I grew up, I've had that shift. I don't want people to listen to this message and think that like we're telling you that you may be doing wrong, because I was definitely one of those people that grew up on a competition mindset. Everything was who was first, who was at the top. But even like the partnership between me and T is such a beautiful thing. Like I'm fully with bringing the vision of all of us having access to the information and the opportunity, that it doesn't matter how things may be perceived or any of that. It's really a team mentality, because once if there's a collective mission that we're all going towards, that collective mission should reign on successes for everybody. It's not going to be like one person goes and becomes the triumph of the metaverse. It's going to be a very communal thing that we all start to be a part of. We're all going to be at the top culturally of the industry. And someone, I think it was Vince that spoke about it, like other, cultures have found their ways to kind of dominate a specific industry completely vertically. And the unfortunate thing is, if you think about any of the things that we even dominate, whether it comes to hip hop or the sports or anything, we're not running the game all the way through from a vertical integration portion. So this is an opportunity for us to come in and really build from the bottom all the way to the top, so that, it's pipeline through us all the way through and through.
Yep. Vic, I love what you're saying. Creativity over competition. I think that's such an easy, portable way to remember this, right? Because that's what it is. Vince, even as you're saying, like systemically, we have to first before we can even get into the tools and the technology and the hardware, like we've got to come to the platform with these updated mindsets, with this abundance mindset that is enough for everybody. And this is opportunity, right? To like you said, Chris, an opportunity right now to really just change the game for where we are, who we are, the creator economy, all of these things. And the metaverse presents an opportunity to do that. Bianca, I want to give you an opportunity to finish what you were saying.
Thank you. Like housekeeping rolled up on me. I was like, can you come back? So I'm kind of piggybacking off of the comment around creativity, right? And so I'm really excited about, we actually have all the tools. No one has any more excuses to be creators instead of consumers, right? And so if we can create these coalitions, these ecosystems where we're trusting, we're communal, we're loving, we're peaceful, and we're doing things in harmony, like we can make so many strides and, definitely reduce, kind of like what Vince said, the meta divide, and we can just do a whole lot of things way quicker. So I'm just really excited about this push for people wanting to create and going out there and being actively really good students, right? Wanting to be good students on how to do it, but they just need the communities and the leaders to kind of help them figure it out along the way.
Yeah. This is so good. Y'all, I'm getting goosebumps. I don't know if you all are seeing the chat, but just the content is so rich. The passion is bleeding through the screen from all of you all, because we've lived it, right? But I think this is an opportunity to impart, even just energy wise, those who are on the fence about the metaverse or thinking, or they come to GatherVerse to get new ideas, right? And to really get the insight. And I believe we've done a phenomenal job here today to really be able to not just shift the mindset, but plant some new seeds, right? And as we even get ready to wrap up here in just a few, I want to talk about even next steps, first steps. We've talked about the first half of our conversation and shifting our mindsets and new ways to think about it. And now we've talked about the second part of the conversation today, which is what is possible, right? What's the vision, right? What is available from just the characteristics that the metaverse provides? And I want to finish the conversation with maybe part 3 around first steps for those who are listening, whether they're in various industries, various types of people. I want you all, and Vic, let's start with you, to just talk about what are some first steps that people can take to really say, all right, I'm ready to come off the fence. Or if they're already in the metaverse and they're building or creating, I'm ready to double down. What are some first steps that you kind of see that they can take?
What's up? I would say one thing, if you haven't quite taken that step, is this is a technology that is very, very, very unique. Okay, we have to actually experience it firsthand. Okay, augmented reality, virtual reality, whichever side of it is not something that you can describe to somebody. It's about as good as me standing on the side of a pool telling you how the water feels. Okay, that's what it's like. So if you're somebody that's been watching the headlines or the videos, the TikToks, and you're kind of getting that outside perspective, I highly advise you to go ahead and get in the water and go ahead and see what it's like. Because I can tell you from a firsthand perspective, anytime that I've gone in to build anything within augmented or virtual reality in any state, the way that my mind just continuously unlocks new ideas, I have to be like, listen, bro, focus up. Okay, the opportunities are endless. We'll implement these on another project. But listen, we have to stay focused. I promise you guys, we are such a creative being at our core. This is such a wide open platform that it's just one of them things that you really have to put yourself in front of. And if you're already in it, I would say be someone that's really a evangelist. Like, we have to create this positive narrative around it. We have to be the ones that support people. When you see people posting and talking and having events and going to panels, we have to be those ones that are showing up even as we build our own, because it's going to be that collective noise that continuously builds up the understanding. We're the ecosystem. If we only let the CNN businesses say that this is going to be the narrative and they keep picking on Mark, then that's all the masses are ever going to see, and they're never going to see our message. I shamelessly plug, I literally, because I'm talking this talk, I created a newsletter. I went to a high school that almost lost accreditation. I'm not the sentence putter together guy, okay, to say the words right. I'm taking the time to make sure that I go in and put out information that my people need. And for those that go through and read the information, we're going to be the ones that's going to be taking advantage of the next curve so to come. So that's my advice for everyone.
Wow, major Bianca, what you got?
So mine is going to be a little controversial. So I'm going to say people need to get their social capital up. Just because you out here talking it, people don't know you doing it. If people can't verify that you, like Chris said, you've been in years putting in work, or they can vouch for they've purchased your products, your services, stop doing everything in secret. Really start forming those alliances and partnerships. It's just, I think it's really interesting as people are trying to build things and then they put their thing, whatever it is, out to the world, and they think the masses are going to run to it. It's just no, a lot of what happens is because of behind the scenes relationships. I've known Tina for years, right? And I met Vince through somebody else from a conference. And so it's just do the work, but then also build up your social capital, because I want to find more people that, I can add to the projects that I'm working on, but I'm not just going to find somebody off of LinkedIn. I might find you and watch you for years, but if you come through Tina, you might got a shot tomorrow, right? And so I think that that's just really important, that while you're build the relationships. Just don't be building the product, build the relationships you're going to need.
Vince, what you got? I love it, Bianca.
Yeah, and you guys, y'all killing it. For real. I'm sitting here getting rich. You know what I'm saying? I break it down this way. It's the practical, radical, and then the published. Right? This is the way that I think about it. Because all things are possible. Well, most things are possible with the metaverse. It's easy. And so I double down with my man Vix. You get in there just oh, I can do all these things, right? But I always step back and say, what is the most practical thing that I can do? Because one, most folks don't even understand what the heck we're doing. Let's just start there. So let's create something practical. Let's do something practical, but then let's get radical. I can talk about what we do at the Bureau. At the Bureau, our practical was, okay, we're going to create a curated team of some of the brightest minds in the world to go tackle these big problems, these creative challenges that we have in the metaverse, Web3, blockchain. Let's go get it. Very practical. Let's go do that. But then the radical thing was, we said, but we operate 75% in the metaverse. Right? So to do business with us, you got to do business with us in the metaverse. So here's our website, literally one page, on purpose. Complete brevity on that page, but it says, come visit us in world. Because in doing that, it now gets them out of I'm gonna flip through 5,000 pages of your website. Nope, we ain't doing that no more. And it will probably cost us business. We will probably not eat in some instances, because we are forcing our clients to go from this is what we do to now come and do it in the way that we do it, which is in world, right? Very radical. So it's practical, then there's radical, and then publish. We got to get better at publishing, y'all. I have people that don't look like me that are in my circle that have sat with me and that have gone to written full blown books, selling on Amazon right now. The metaverse will be, right? Because they understand that the sooner that you publish, the sooner that you talk and take it to the masses, this is what, right, wrong, or indifferent. The fear that we have is about being wrong. What if I go write this book and it don't pan out that way? It don't matter. They're going to forget your book and what you said. What they gonna remember is when it pop off the way that you said it was gonna pop off in the book. They remember that. If you think about how many books are out there that did not come to pass, but we remember every book that did come to pass, right? Practical, radical, publish. Talk about what you're doing, right? Put your name on it, put your face on it. Get on the TED stage. They gotta see more of us, right? And we have the ability to do it.
That's
That's
powerful.
my thing. Practical. Go do something that you can put your arms around. Go start you a museum or something that's telling a dope story, and then go get radical about it, right? But then publish why you actually built this museum. Now go do the next thing.
I
Right?
love that framework.
Yeah.
Chris, bring us home. What is your take on everything that we're talking about here on this last phase?
Sure, Tina. I just have to say a tip of my hat. It's really heartfelt listening to what was just expressed. I'm not gonna lie, just powerful. I'm caught up in the moment. Actually, it's just I have a book I'm getting ready to announce. I wrote it. It's called Surviving in Silicon Valley.
Come on, bro.
It's the first time I said this publicly, and
Wow.
I grew up in the streets of Oakland, California, and I grew up with the technologist in my house, my dad. And he taught me. I grew up around a bunch of hackers. And so when he died, my mom and dad, they died 9 months apart. They just, when I had my first startup, both my parents just died. My physical parents, my spiritual parents are with me. And I sold almost everything I had, and I moved to Silicon Valley out of the seat of my car. And I was living in my car between Google and NASA Ames in a hackerspace called Hacker Dojo. And I wanted to learn and to build. And I found myself being taught by people that didn't look like me, that embraced me, from different backgrounds around the world, here in Silicon. And I would go to the YMCA and bathe, and I would come to my car seat, and then I would go attend a class, and I would go learn technology. And then people started asking me to speak and to be able to extend that social print that Bianca is expressing about. And 8 years ago, I started writing some of these stories, Vincent, about ownership. Someone says, I can't afford a startup. You can afford to write your experiences.
Oh, bro.
And put that to market. And so I sit here with heartfelt compassion, here with the GatherVerse community. That's a global community. The words that I express to you, I live under grace and mercy. That's it. I come from a real bad part of life in the streets. But I've also was raised in Germany and in Texas. I've experienced different backgrounds and culture. And that there are those that don't look like us that will build with us. But at the same time, for us to be able to identify that there's people that look like us, that are just as capable to build as anyone else, is a fascinating realization. But what's more fascinating is to manifest the opportunities that the ones that come before us never had. We have more opportunity today than anyone given on this planet. We have the opportunity to be able to bring it home. I subscribe to the idea of thinking globally when you build, and at the same time, think about the compassion and the humanity and the approach to it when we deal with accessibility and equity and community development and safety and privacy and wellness and ethics. Think about for whom you're building for. Think about for whom you're building and who you'll pass it down to, because every moment is precious. We only get a little bit of time to do it, and none of us is promised the next second. And so this time that we get together, Bianca, Tina, Vic, Vincent, we'll never get this back again. We'll never get this time back again. But I'm so grateful to be able to have this time in this summit with everybody here. It means so much. And that is where I'm getting at. Yeah, I moved to Silicon Valley from the seat of my car. And the idea is sacrifice. How bad do you want it? How much do you want it? Your back's against the wall. Show it. Live it. Manifest it. And be grateful for every moment that you have the opportunity to build. Because for many, it's just not so. So thank you for leading. Tina, thank you for showing up and pulling up. All of you that are with us today, that are here at this panel, it's heartfelt. We'll continue to try.
Oh, Chris, I think you froze.
The internet got him.
You're talking.
We good?
Chris, you went out on us on your last statement.
Like 5 seconds, bro. Give us the last 5 seconds. I need them.
My last few seconds was this. Be sure to build together, hold it down with each other. Thank you for everyone being able to pull up from around the world. I see your messages. I see your words. I see you're here. We're not alone. We're not alone. Me as a Black man having a platform called GatherVerse can't happen without the contributions of everyone else and the relationships that we have. It can't happen if y'all didn't pull up today. This isn't about Christopher. This is about something much more bigger, because if we continue to operate in the fashion in which we are without considering humanity first, we will have nothing to build and nothing to build for and nothing to build with. That's real talk. So we need to really start thinking about how we build collectively with humanity first standards and accessibility and education, safety, privacy, wellness, and equity. How we do it and who we hand this off to. And let me say this, because I just have to get one more quick jab in. Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery. I saw companies rally around that and said we need to be able to do more for our Black communities. Don't just leave us in commercials and think that that's being equitable. We have the power to be able to build anything we want and to be able to build with you. I encourage you to be able to meet us in the middle at our table and your table. We'll combine that and we can build wonderful, incredible things together. Thank you so much, Tina, for leading. Thank you so much for everyone attending, all of you at home, for sharing your heart. Continue to build with us. This won't be the last time, hopefully, that we will get together and to be able to explore. That's all I got. That's from my heart right now. Thank you so much.
Chris, listen, we feel it. We feel every bit of what you're saying. I don't know about anybody else. I feel like, I know y'all feel it on the panel, but like your passion for what you do for humanity, first and foremost, right? And your passion for our community, it is so just, we're grateful to have a leader like you to create a space like this. So we're sending you more blessings and thanks and his gratitude for what you do, that God will continue to elongate your days, that you can keep building for the culture and beyond. So we're getting ready to wrap up here, but much love, Chris, Vincent, Vic, and Bianca. I thank you all so much for being here. For everyone who's dropping the flames, they say, we love you, Chris. We love you all. Thank you so much. We appreciate you all for being here. Please make sure that you follow our speakers. You can find them on LinkedIn as well, too. If you want to take a quick second to jot down their names. But as we leave, I want to also just encourage you all to heed to what is being said today. The metaverse is an extremely special place that's being built, and we need the contribution of all of you all. We need the contribution of your gifts. We need the contribution of your passion, right? And we need the contribution of your skills to do this together. It's for all of us, right? It is a place that we all can be and thrive. And so we thank you again for being here. We're going to transition now to get ready for the next panel, but we thank you. May we gather and continue to gather well. So thank you again, everyone. Having a wonderful day.
Thank you. Peace.
Salute.